financial crisis recovery.
Foreclosure, short sales, bankruptcy, credit card debt, job loss, depreciating home values, money management. Peace of mind when it comes to your finances seems completely out of reach under current conditions, but there is a way to achieve it. For the next 60 minutes, you're going to find out how to cover your assets. Cover your assets.
Thing that you can invest in is a recorder on the other side of that phone, because in court, only one person needs to be aware that the recording is taking place. So you get yourself a little Radio Shack recorder and click the record button when these debt collectors come on, and when they start threatening that they are going to garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts and lien your property, something that they do all the time, or they call your parents or call your family or your friends and say that you owe money, something that they do all the time. If they do that, you record that conversation and do not lose it, because they are now doing something that is strictly illegal, and they can be sued for it. And believe me, it's a whole lot easier to negotiate with somebody when you're suing them simultaneously.
Yeah, when you had something on the other end on their side, that's great.
You better believe it. You better believe it. And people don't realize this. So, if somebody routinely, as a debt collection agency, is contacting you and they're leaving threatening messages or they're talking to you on the phone threatening ways, then you need to record that information and you need to get in contact with us, because whether it's student loan debt or whether it's credit card debt or any other type of debt for that matter, the reality is until they have begun a legal action against you, until they have a judgment in place, and remember, even when the legal action begins, you'll have a summons and complaint. The summons is to respond with what's known as an answer. If you write an answer to the complaint, the outcome is no one knows. You may have a legitimate reason that you can dispute the validity of that debt, and you may be able to prove. So the idea that before that takes place, anyone can threaten that they're going to have a levy, lien, or garnishment is absurd. They can't do it. They haven't taken it that far, and that is an unfair debt collection practice, and they do it all the time. We catch them saying it on the phone, we sue them. And so, I'll get you in contact with Curtis Zahn, and I'll tell you what, we'll have some fun with this. So, when you're trying to pay your bills and you're doing the best that you can and you just simply don't have the money because you don't have a job, look, if you need some help, wouldn't it be great to be able to see an attorney, and for a pretty modest amount of money, he would be able to collect much of his fee from them and be able to potentially negotiate that thing for you. So that's student loan debt. SBA loans, Small Business Administration loans. These loans are dischargeable in bankruptcy. But if you want to negotiate them, good luck. SBA loans are very, very, very tough to negotiate. Oftentimes, the banks will not do deed in lieu conversations with you as it relates to SBA loans. They are going to get, the bank, a percentage of the loss from the SBA. That's what the SBA guarantee is. And if they do not want to help you, and many times they may not, you're going to have a challenge, because your SBA loan is going to go back to the Treasury Department. When it goes back to the Treasury Department, it is like talking to a recording, and you will hear the same thing over and over again, and the only option you're ever going to have is a payment plan on 100% of the debt over a period of time, and it is a lot of money. In many cases, they'll only take it out 5 to 10 years, which could mean that you could have payments that are $3,000, $4,000 per month on a business that is no longer a going concern, meaning a revenue stream. So, wow, that's tough. So the reality is, if you know what I've just said, your goal is always to use the bank as a mediary to be able to negotiate with the SBA. We got a loan, a negotiated loan with the SBA by using the bank recently at 10 cents on the dollar on a debt that was $130,000. I'll tell you, and all the time I've been doing this, I've never done that before. We were enormously successful, and it doesn't happen very often, but I will tell you what, it happened as a result of having the bank involved, who actually had the loan, as a mediary working in between us and the SBA rep and the SBA approval center to be able to get this done. And of course, we had to demonstrate that the person was flat broke, otherwise it would have never happened. And that's a strategy in and of itself to do that. Typically, with SBA loans, you can assume that you're either going to pay 100 cents on the dollar, or the best case scenario is going to be about 50 cents on the dollar. That is a reasonable strategy. If you've got 50% to pay off your SBA loan, then you can avoid bankruptcy and you can do it. And that would be obviously worthwhile, provided that the number is within reason and provided you're not having to liquidate everything you own and put yourself in such a desperate situation that you won't recover from that. So those are the different types of federal debt that we're dealing with. IRS, state revenue, student loan debt, SBA loans, they all have their own little set of details that you must be aware of to know how you build a strategy around these things. But having the people who are experts in each one of these individual areas is so powerful. For 20 years to be able to do this job that I do, the reason that I know the things that I do is because we've dealt with thousands upon thousands of cases, and every time that I need help, I can pick up the phone and get a legal opinion from the attorneys and the CPAs and the experts who are just flat out the best in their fields. Now, after doing that for 20 years, you can about imagine there isn't a whole lot of questions that I haven't heard and that I don't have the answer already. But if there is, if I ever get into deep water, I can instantly pick up the phone and get a legal opinion on any situation I have. And believe me, my experts pick up the phone when I call. So it's a very powerful position to be able to give people great advice that is accurate, unbiased, and on topic. So that's what this show is about. We try to cover all of the details related to this. Now, having said all of that, remember that if you're positioning yourself to never be in this situation, then you can take every bit of information that I've told you as to how you deal with it when you are and use it to build a strategy to be certain that you're not ever going to be dealing with this. And as a backup plan, if you ever are, you know the direction that it can go and you know how to position yourself to minimize the damage. That's what asset protection is all about. I have probably the best estate planning asset protection attorney in the state, Tom Fafinski at Virtus Law. And, every estate planning asset protection strategy that goes into existence has to take into account all of the debt, the debtors that are out there, and the assets and how we can protect those should something go wrong. So this is what our show is all about. Dealing with asset protection, dealing with, how to deal with a crisis when you're in it, how to minimize the damage and get yourself back on your feet in a reasonably short period of time, and then fixing things fundamentally. The last thing I'll say about this is that we've got to always focus on a budget, because to make all of these dramatic moves and to create these strategies, and in the end, it still doesn't fix the problem, what have you done? You've accomplished nothing. You have to fundamentally fix the problem. And looking at everything from a position of financial accuracy is critical, and most people don't do it. They just try to fix what is in front of them, not realizing that it really hasn't fundamentally fixed anything. So we've always got to look at everything from a position of financial accuracy. We're going to take one last break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about how to look at your financial picture to create a cohesive strategy that addresses everything and puts you in a strong position where you can sustain yourself permanently after the storm is over. Love this music, man.
I try.
I'm telling you. Well, we are back. Cover your assets. We're going to pick this up. All decisions must be made from a position of financial accuracy. We covered federal debt today, some of which is dischargeable in bankruptcy, some of which is not. And obviously, even if you're negotiating, the ability to discharge debt in bankruptcy gives you leverage to negotiate. So if you have no interest in bankruptcy, it doesn't matter, because if you can qualify for bankruptcy, it's the best leverage you have to negotiate a deep settlement. And I do not believe that this whole notion that I'll just hide out underground permanently or indefinitely is an answer to any problem. In fact, what tends to happen is you're forced not to be a productive human being. If you're married, you'll probably be divorced in a matter of time. It just wreaks havoc on relationships and on a person's psyche. So I believe that the faster that you can come up with a plan that creates resolution and closure so you can move on with your life and begin rebuilding yourself, the better in all instances. How quickly we get there and how we make those decisions has very much to do with your current budget. Where are you financially? People all think that a budget is a frivolous issue. It is so far from it. It is the toughest thing that everybody deals with. And the problem is most people look at it as the mathematics. Anybody can do the math of a budget. I can teach a third grader to do that. That's not the issue. The issue is the human being who can create multitudes of spreadsheets to justify just about anything that they want to do after they've already spent the money. Controlled spending and money management, making a decision so that I know for certain when I'm finished, I have fixed the problem fundamentally. A budget it allows you to do three significant things. One, control spending so you make less than you make, or less than you spend. Controlled spending so that it allows you to spend less than you earn, your take-home pay. So that means that balancing a budget at the end of the month with your Quicken spreadsheet doesn't do that. You need to be able to control spending to ensure that it works out to the dollar at the end of the month, not after it's over reconciling when it's too late to bring the groceries back. So that's first. Number one, controlled spending. Spend less than you make. If you do that, if you earn $1 more than your expenses, you will have a solid financial position. If you spend $1 more than what you earn, you will have a life of chaos. It is as simple as that. Something isn't better than nothing if it doesn't fix the problem fundamentally. Number two reason for having a budget. Number two is to make strategic decisions, all things considered, knowing that if I do this, it will fundamentally fix my problem. It is a heck of a note to go and lose a home in foreclosure and then sign a lease, and you're no more capable of signing the lease, be that as it may, less than your house payment, when you can no more afford that lease of $1,500 per month than you could afford the house that was $2,000 a month as a mortgage payment. It's a horrible situation. You have no idea the number of people who do exactly that, just because it's less than what the house payment was. What about the driving proximity? Am I driving farther? Is my gasoline going up? Is my insurance going to go up? What about the utilities? Will those be more? Will those be less? All those things need to be taken into consideration so you're making decisions from a position of financial accuracy. Third reason for having a budget, the most important, the psychological issue, to show measurable improvement towards an objective. I want to get myself out of debt. I want to build an emergency fund. I'd like to build net worth. You've got to show measurable improvement month over month. Otherwise, the human being will not stay in the car long enough to get to the destination. People need to see success quickly or they abandon ship. So a budget is the most important thing, is to show measurable improvement towards an individual's objectives. Hope we've covered some of your stuff today. Maybe some friends, family you know of who might be dealing with some of these issues. I welcome the opportunity to be of service to people. My phone number is 763-559-3800 if you have these issues. Also, I recommend highly you go to the Financial Crisis Bible and download it. And lastly, our website is CYA21.com, and there you can download the Financial Crisis as well. All the professionals you've heard me talk about today are all located there, and you can check them out. Look forward to being back with you next week, and hopefully, all things considered, my health, I'll be able to do that.
You'll be here.
Have a great week, everybody.